This is a conversation between Savitri and the god of death. He is trying to discourage her. He tells her, don't expect to win Shraddhavan back. Everything in the universe is against it. And he's giving every possible argument why she should abandon her quest and return back to the material world. But Savitri is gradually revealing to him and to us her knowledge, the knowledge that she's gained through her sadhana. So in what we read last week, she says, I've reached the very edge of eternity, but standing on eternity's luminous brink, I have discovered that the world was He, the Supreme, the Divine, that all this world is also God. I have met spirit with spirit, self with self, but I have loved too the body of my God. This material world is also the body of God. And I have pursued Him in His earthly form. And then she says, a lonely freedom cannot satisfy a heart that has grown one with every heart. I am a deputy of the aspiring world. My spirit's liberty I ask for all. I'm not asking for anything for myself alone. Any realization, any achievement for myself alone, that is not enough. Liberation for myself, that is not satisfying, because through my experiences, my heart, my individual heart, has become one with every heart. I share the longings of all mortal creatures. So I'm here, I'm following you, death, as a deputy, as a representative of the aspiring world, this world of matter which is longing for a higher perfection. And I'm asking the freedom that I have gained, I want to have that for all human beings. So that's where we stopped last week. Then rang again a deeper cry of death, as if beneath its weight of sterile law, oppressed by its own obstinate, meaningless will, disdainful, weary, and compassionate, it kept no more its old intolerant sound, but seemed like life's in her unnumbered paths, toiling forever and achieving naught, because of birth and change. Her mortal powers by which she lasts, around the term posts fixed, turning of a wide, circling, aimless race, whose course forever speeds and is the same. In its long play with fate and chance and time, assured of the game's vanity, lost or won, crushed by its load of ignorance and doubt, which knowledge seems to increase and growth to enlarge, the earth mind sinks, and it despairs and looks old, weary, and discouraged on its work. Yet was all nothing then, or vainly achieved? Some great thing has been done, some light, some power delivered from the huge inconscience grasp. It has emerged from night. It sees its dawns circling forever, though no dawn can stay. This change was in the Godhead's far-flung voice. His form of dread was altered and admitted our transient effort at eternity, yet flung vast doubts of what might else have been on grandiose hints of an impossible day. I would stop there. Yes.
Then rang again a deeper cry of death, as if beneath its weight of sterile law, oppressed by its own obstinate, meaningless will, disdainful, wary, and compassionate, it kept no more its old intolerant sound, but seemed like lives in her unnumbered paths, toiling forever and achieving more. Because of birth and change, her mortal powers by which she lost around the composed, fixed, turning of a wide, circling, aimless race, whose course forever speeds and is the same.
Yes. So this is quite a difficult sentence. I mentioned last time, we noticed last time, that there seems to be some change coming about in this figure of death because of the light, the illumination of truth that Savitri is casting as she replies to his arguments. Some change has come about. No? And now in this sentence, Aurobindo tells us that that change seems to be expressed in the voice of death as he replies to her. It's as if his voice, his cry, is somehow oppressed, weary of this weight of law, of sterile law, of law which doesn't help things to grow, something that's sterile. In hospitals, we want things to be sterile so that the germs don't get into any wounds or openings. No, but something that is sterile is not fruitful. Nothing grows there. No. We know too that traditionally the figure of the god of death, Yama, he's also the god of law. And he's been repeating to Savitri that there are laws which don't allow your mission to be fulfilled, which don't allow the return of Satyavan to earth. But this law seems to be a sterile law. So it's as if this voice of death is oppressed, weighed down in some way by its own obstinate, meaningless will, its own will. He's opposing his will to keep things the way they are against Savitri's will for things to change. And he is obstinate in his will. Obstinate means that you won't change your mind. Proverbially, we think of donkeys as being obstinate. They won't do what you want them to do. They have a will of their own. They won't go where you want them to go. People sometimes are obstinate. They will not change. And this will of death seems to be in some way meaningless. Why is he insisting like that? Why is he being so obstinate? The voice expresses something of that. It sounds still disdainful. We had this word before. Disdain is what you feel for somebody who's very inferior. So he's been speaking to Savitri like that from the beginning, that he is a very high and powerful being, and she is just a poor, weak woman, and what can she expect from him? His voice is still disdainful, but it's also getting weary, tired. And it's expressing more of compassion, of sympathy. It's not keeping that old intolerant sound. Before he was roaring at her, and trying to terrify her. Now there's some softening in the sound of his voice. Sri Aurobindo says this voice of death now begins to sound more like the voice of life, of our earth life, as she explores all the unnumbered paths of life here in the material world. That involves effort. Life is always toiling, struggling, and it often seems as if it's not achieving anything. Why? Because of the restrictions of material life. It has to be born, and then it will change, and then it will die, and then it will be born again. So life on earth is the means by which life goes on. Something dies, other things live. But it's fixed, it's tied like an animal who's tied to a post. Sometimes 2 posts. We have 2 posts and a rope in between, and we put the cow's rope or the goat's rope around the string. So it can go a certain distance, it can move around to feed itself, but it can't go any further. We can see where it's eaten up all the grass. Term posts. No further than this. You can't go any further than this, any further than this. So birth and change or death, these are the term posts to which life is fixed in the material world. So life is turning always in this wide circle, round and round, and it looks like it's running a kind of race, but there's no goal. You can't reach the end. because it's a circle, it's going round and round. The course goes on, speeding, running around, but it doesn't change. It's always the same. It's fixed to these term posts. So this voice of death is expressing something like that, this awareness of having to toil forever, go on turning and circling. You might get weary of that, no? And you might feel hopeless. Something like that is there.
In its long play with fate and chance and time, a suit of the game's vanity lost the world, crushed his load of ignorance and doubt, which knowledge seems to increase and growth to enlarge. The earth mind sinks, and its spare lot looks all weary and discouraged in its work.
Yes, so this is again further expressing the same idea, no? Life on earth in the world. It's a long play, a kind of game, playing with fate, with what is fixed, with chance, what is unexpected and unpredictable, of time, one thing after another. And in that long play, that long game, it's as if life feels sure that whether it wins the game or loses the game, it really doesn't matter, because it's anyway meaningless. It has no value. So there's a feeling of being crushed by this load of ignorance and doubt, not knowing. And the more knowledge there is, the more the doubt seems to increase. And the more the life grows, the more the doubt seems to grow wider. So the earth mind, the consciousness of all things on earth, it's as if it sinks in discouragement. Are we ever going to get anywhere? No? We begin to despair. It looks old, as if all this has been going on for far too long. We get tired of it. We get discouraged. So there isn't any youthful enthusiasm to try new things, because there's this weight of ignorance and doubt and despair. This is some element which is there in the earth consciousness, the earth mind. Quite a strong element in our human mind. We think, what is the use? It doesn't look possible to change anything, really. So that sound is there in the voice of death, that element of despair and doubt and weariness.
Despair means?
Sorry?
Despair means?
Despair, it means when you have no hope. I don't know what to do. So terrible. Can't look into the future. There's no hope. Despair. Is it clear, these two lines? Anybody wants to ask anything?
This is all about life.
What he's really focusing on is that death now is going to speak again. Then rang again a deeper cry of death. It's deeper because it's got all this element of compassion, of weariness, of doubt and despair. It's more in tune, perhaps, with our human mood. And there's more different aspects to it In this way, it is deeper. And we'll see how he expresses that when he speaks. But before he begins to speak, there's another element, another nuance, another a different aspect of sound in the voice. Suresh.
Say first all the things that are vainly achieved. Some great thing has been done. Some light, some power delivered. From the huge inconscious grasp, it has emerged from light. It sees its down, circling forever, though no down can stay.
Yes. So there's that other feeling. Nothing in our earth consciousness is absolute. There's always another side. So to the doubt and the despair, there is some other aspect. Has nothing been done? Is there no progress at all, really? Has all this effort over the millennia been in vain? No? Some great thing has been done. Some light, some power has been delivered, set free from the grasp of the huge inconscient. Life has emerged. Consciousness has emerged. No? If life is speaking, that awareness will be in its voice. No? It has emerged from the night of the inconscience. And every day it sees the dawn coming, the new light, coming again and again and again, every day. None of those dawns can remain. Sri Aurobindo several times in the poem describes the beautiful, magical light of a new day starting, full of coming out of the darkness, bringing new hope, new possibilities. And Savitri's name, I've mentioned it several times, it's connected with the dawn. She's connected with the sun before it has risen above the horizon. So what she represents is this new light of hope coming every day, again and again. So that magic light of dawn, he also describes how it fades away. It becomes the common light of earthly day, but then it comes again. So that's some kind of hope. No? It's circling forever, though no dawn can stay. So that element of possibility is also there now in the voice of death as he speaks. Bärbel.
This change was in the Godhead's far-flung voice. This form of dread was outed and admitted. Our transient effort at eternity. Yet one just doubts of what might else have been. On grandiose wings of an impossible thing.
Yes. So this change which Sri Aurobindo has been expressing to us in these several sentences we just read, this change was in that loud, far-flung, universal voice of the God of death. He had this terrifying form, a form of dread that induced fear, terror, horror. No? That form of dread has changed and has admitted, allowed our transient effort at eternity. We human beings, we are transient. Our lives don't last long. And yet somehow all the effort that we make in our lives, all that we experience in our lives, this is all moving towards or aiming at something lasting, something so true that it doesn't have to die, at eternity. So that possibility, that opening, that change is there, and yet at the same time he's still flinging, casting these vast doubts of what might else have been, what more could have been possible. No? There may be these dawn hints of a wonderful, glorious day, but his voice is casting doubt on that. No, this is an illusion. It's not going to be possible. Is it clear? Okay, now we can listen to what he says. Gaurav, you would read.
What are these things?
Sorry?
I didn't get it. What are the grandiose things?
The grandiose hints. When there's a dawn, the dawn brings this grandiose hints. The dawn light is so beautiful. It's like something from eternity coming, lighting up everything. It's described at the beginning of the book. But then it goes away. No? So he says, look, or he's implying, or the sound of his voice is implying, all right, something has been achieved. But you see, it goes away. There couldn't have been anything more. Higher things are not going to be possible. Something like that.
So this impossible day is the eternity day. It's immortal.
Yes, day is the time of full light, when there's no darkness. So he's hinting that that's not possible. Here we are, we're stuck in this twilight, yeah? This dream twilight of the earthly real. So what does he say? Yes.
The great voice surging cried to Savitri, because thou knowest the wisdom that transcends both veil of forms and the contempt of forms. Arise, delivered by the seeing gods.
So here he's acknowledging something about Savitri, that you have real knowledge, real wisdom, because you know that wisdom that is not deceived by the appearances. It goes beyond, it transcends the veil of forms and the contempt of forms. You are not deceived by the appearances, and nor are you carried away and despising the appearances because they're illusions. You've seen that all these appearances are in fact disguises or expressions of the divine being. Because you have this double knowledge, very important double knowledge, come, I lift you up, set you free. You are set free by the seeing gods, the gods of knowledge and vision. But now he's going to cast doubt again. Yes. No, behind you. Yes, please read.
They see the highest kept their mind from light fair streets. The might have been like them, omniscient calm.
Let's look at these two lines, or the next line, one more line.
Violent and passionate heart for weeks.
Yes, So he tells her, if you'd been able to keep your mind free from the stress, the pressure, the impulse of life, which is so violent, passionate, you might have been like those seeing gods. You might have been like them, calm, all-knowing. But you've got this violent and passionate human heart that doesn't allow it. Doesn't allow you to be calm and omniscient, like those gods. And now he's going to speak about the passionate heart, Chandra.
It is the strong word of an untouched
Anarch power.
That would
Upheave.
upheave the world and tear from it. The
Indecipherable scroll
of fate, death's rule and law and the unknowable will.
Yes. So the heart, the violent and passionate heart, the woman's heart, the heart of humanity. He says it's like a storm bird. Sailors speak of certain birds as being the heralds of a storm. They see them coming and they say, oh, there's going to be a big wind now. So this heart of yours, it's the sign, it's the forerunner or the characteristic of an anarch power. Anarchy is a state without any rule or law. A power that doesn't respect or obey laws, an anarch power. And that anarch power of the heart, it would like to upheave the world, overturn it, and tear away from it, the indecipherable scroll of fate. Fate is the word that we use for what seems to be fixed and unchangeable, something that's been decided. So this scroll, it's as if there's you know what is a scroll? It's before we had books. Writing used to be done on long strips of paper or parchment, written like this, and you would, in columns, no? So you would, on wooden rollers. So you would hold it in two hands here, and you'd unroll and read, and you'd roll up with the other hand, and like this. So it also suggests something that goes on for a long time, and you're seeing only a bit of it. It's getting unrolled. The scroll of fate reveals itself. So the heart would like to tear away that scroll in which everything is written down and predicted. Written down or carried in that scroll is also the rule of death and the rule of law and the unknowable will of the eternal. The heart would like to get hold of all that and tear it all up and have another kind of world. There's something revolutionary about the violent and passionate heart. You read? Yes. Anita.
Harshness to an action, violators of God, are thus great spirits who have too much love, and they who form like thee for both art thou, have come into the narrow bounds of life, with too large natures overreaching time.
Yes. So he speaks about these people who have great and powerful, passionate hearts. They're in a hurry to act. They won't wait. They're not patient. and they violate, they break and spoil the intentions of God. These great spirits, he admits that these revolutionaries, they are great spirits, and they have too much love. They are not able to control and restrain their love. And you are one of those people who have come into these narrow boundaries of human life with too large natures, too wide and generous and magnanimous and loving, wanting to jump over time, over the limitations of time. He says, you are like that. And that's exactly right. That's what she's come to do. Josie.
Worshippers of force, who know not her recoil, their giant wills compel the troubled years.
Yes, these people with too large natures, they are worshippers of Shakti, of force, of power. But they are not aware that this power can make a big move forward, but it can also come back, recoil. If you shoot with a gun, the bullet will go out and the gun will come back and hit you. This is recoil. So some progress may be made, but there will be some consequences also. So they ignore that part, the consequences, the recoil. But they have this enormous willpower, and they do compel, they do have an effect on time, on the troubled years. He contrasts these violent spirits, these hasteners to action, with other beings. Ganga Lakshmi.
The wise are tranquil, silence the great hills, rise ceaselessly toward the enriched sky, seated on their unchanging blaze, their heads streamless in heaven's immutable domain.
Yes. So he says, these calm, omniscient gods, the wise, are tranquil. They don't have these passionate, impatient hearts. No? They are like great mountains, silent, great hills that are always rising ceaselessly, stretching upwards towards that sky of higher consciousness, which they don't reach. But they are seated there, unchanging, on their unchanging base. And their heads are stretching up, he says, without dreaming. They don't have dreams. In heaven's immutable domain. Things don't change up there. It's all very calm and still and fixed and changeless.
These are not wise men. Wise means they are not human beings.
These are human beings, are like that. Yes, the truly wise, the sages, the great rishis, they are like that. That's what he says. Yes? Sarojini.
On their aspiring thoughts, sublime and still, and lifting her away up to heaven, the climbing soul. The mighty meditator stand content to watch the revolutions of the stars, motionlessly moving with the might of the earth. They see the its past and are the strong.
They are the same. Yes. So he says these wise people who are like mountains, on their higher levels, sublime, it's like something divine, and still unchanging. They are lifting halfway to heaven the climbing soul. If the soul climbs up to the top of the mountain, they are halfway to heaven. These wise beings, they are mediators. They are connecting heaven and earth. They are allowing some communication between them. But they themselves, they stand there, they don't change. They are content to keep on watching the way that the stars go round and round and round. No? They themselves go round and round and round because they are being moved by the power of the earth. As it moves round, they also move round. And they stand there and they see time passing, but they don't change. He's presenting this to her as a kind of ideal, that she too could be like that if only she weren't so much troubled by the wishes and desires of her heart. No? She too could be calm and tranquil and unmoved like that. Joel.
The wise think with the cycles, they hear the tread of far off things, patient, unmoved, they keep their dangerous wisdom in their depth restrained, lest man's frail days into the unknown should sink, dragged like a ship by bound leviathan into the abyss of his stupendous seas.
So the wise see the long perspectives of things. They think with the vast cycles of time, the yugas, the eons. No? So they are aware that things are coming nearer. They hear the tread of far off things. So they are very patient. They are not disturbed. They don't share their wisdom. They keep it. The wisdom that's dangerous, too disturbing perhaps, this knowledge of what will come in the future. No? They keep it held back, restrained in the depths of their being, so that so that man's frail days, so fragile, the life of humanity, no? They don't want to weigh it down with their knowledge, their foresight. It's a dangerous wisdom, and if it's revealed too soon, then humanity might sink into the unknown, dragged like a ship by bound leviathan into the abyss of the stupendous seas. Leviathan is a giant sea monster. Perhaps it's the ancient word for a whale. And whaling ships, of course, they want to catch the whale. They send their harpoons. But it can happen that the harpoon, by the rope there, the ship is attached to that fish, and the fish dives down into the deeps, the fish or the whale or whatever it is. So the ship also gets sunk. The Leviathan might be bound, but the people on the ship are not in control. They are dragged into the abyss of the stupendous seas, to the vast depths where they are helpless. We'll go a little further. Who's at the back there? Yeah?
Lo, how all shakes when the gods treat to near. All moves is in whirl until torn up heaven.
Upheaved.
The hurrying herons would stumble on two flat. Strength from heaven surprised the imperfect earth, and Wheeler's knowledge smote these unfit souls.
Look how everything shakes like an earthquake. If the gods, these powerful higher beings, if they come too near to the earth, everything shakes, everything moves, everything is in peril, in danger, it's in anguish, in terrible suffering. Things get torn, things get upheaved. The hurrying eons, the vast spaces of time would get as if speeded up. No? They would move on too quickly and they would stumble. Stumble is when you're going too fast and you trip, no? And fall. Time would pass too quickly if directly the strength from heaven would come and surprise the earth, which is still so imperfect and unready. And if veilless knowledge, now we get the knowledge through the veil of ignorance, if that veil were taken away and the veilless knowledge would strike the earth like a great flash of lightning, would strike our unfit souls like a flash of lightning, all that would create far too much disturbance.
This is like a pralaya?
A kind of pralaya. Mother has also spoken about this, no? That this is something that she wanted to avoid. That there's great powers coming, they will cause enormous disturbances, but she's always trying to keep it somehow smoothed out, because evolution has not prepared the earth yet enough to receive the full force of the higher forces, the supramental. Yeah. So it's as before, we have seen that death speaks things that have a truth in them. There is a truth in what he's saying here. But Savitri is not going to accept it. Sergei.
The deities have screamed their dreadful power. God's heart is hurt, and he seems to err. Be still and tardy in this low wise world.
Yes, go on.
Mighty art thou with the dread goddess field, to whom thou
Christ
adore in the dim woods. Use not thy strength like the wild Titan souls. Touch not the seated lines, the ancient laws. Respect the crown, O great established things.
So it sounds quite reasonable, doesn't it? Yeah? There's a reason why the divine beings have hidden their dreadful, tremendous power. God doesn't show himself fully. He hides his thought. Even he seems to make mistakes. We human beings, with our ignorance, we think, why has he made these mistakes? No? So he advises Savitri, be still. Don't rush along. Take your time. Tardy actually usually means taking too much time. Move slowly in this slow, wise world. You have a great deal of power. You're carrying so much power in you because you're filled with the great goddess, the dread goddess, the Supreme Mother, to whom you cried at dawn in the dim woods. Savitri began the day by praying to Durga. No? But he tells her, you've got so much strength, but don't use that strength like the wild Titan souls who don't obey the divine law, who only follow their own will. Don't disturb these established lines of development, these ancient laws. Respect the calm of great established things. They have a meaning. They're the base of everything. Don't be in too much of a hurry to disturb them. Show respect for these great established things. We'll stop there for today. Yes? The veil and veilless. Lo. That means see, behold. See, look, behold. Usually, often we say them together. Lo and behold. See. Something miraculous is happening. Look, behold it. Perhaps it's connected with the word look.
The word I saw from the Bible.
Yeah, it comes in the Bible, it comes in poetry, it comes also in fairy tales. No? That something is revealed. So see it, lo. It's a command, it's an imperative. Look. So he's saying to Savitri, look, you see how things get upset when the divine power acts too strongly in the world. Be aware of that, remember that. Then rang again a deeper cry of death, as if beneath its weight of sterile law, oppressed by its own obstinate, meaningless will, disdainful, weary, and compassionate, it kept no more its old intolerant sound, but seemed like life's in her unnumbered paths, toiling forever and achieving naught, because of birth and change, her mortal powers by which she lasts, around the term posts fixed, turning of a wide, circling, aimless race, whose course forever speeds and is the same. In its long play with fate and chance and time, assured of the game's vanity, lost or won, crushed by its load of ignorance and doubt, which knowledge seems to increase and growth to enlarge. The earth mind sinks, and it despairs and looks looks old, weary, and discouraged on its work. Yet was all nothing then, or vainly achieved? Some great thing has been done, some light, some power delivered from the huge inconscient's grasp. It has emerged from night, it sees its dawns circling forever, though no dawn can stay. This change was in the Godhead's far-flung voice. His form of dread was altered and admitted our transient effort at eternity, yet flung vast doubts of what might else have been on grandiose hints of an impossible day. The great voice surging cried to Savitri, "Because thou know'st the wisdom that transcends both veil of forms and the contempt of forms, arise, delivered by the seeing gods. If free thou hadst kept thy mind from life's fierce stress, thou mightst have been like them, omniscient, calm. But the violent and passionate heart forbids. It is the storm bird of an anarch power that would upheave the world and tear from it the indecipherable scroll of fate, death's rule and law and the unknowable will. Hasteners to action, violators of God, are these great spirits who have too much love, and they who, formed like thee, for both art thou, have come into the narrow bounds of life with too large natures, overleaping time. Worshippers of force, who know not her recoil, their giant wills compel the troubled years. The wise are tranquil. Silent the great hills rise ceaselessly towards their unreached sky. Seated on their unchanging base, their heads dreamless in heaven's immutable domain. On their aspiring tops, sublime and still, lifting halfway to heaven the climbing soul, the mighty mediators stand content to watch the revolutions of the stars. Motionlessly moving with the might of earth, they see the ages pass and are the same. The wise think with the cycles. They hear the tread of far-off things. Patient, unmoved they keep their dangerous wisdom in their depths restrained, lest man's frail days into the unknown should sink, dragged like a ship by bound Leviathan into the abyss of his stupendous seas. Lo, how all shakes when the gods tread too near. All moves, is in peril, anguished, torn, upheaved. The hurrying eons would stumble on too swift, if strength from heaven surprised the imperfect earth, and veilless knowledge smote these unfit souls. The deities have screened their dreadful power. God hides his thought, and even he seems to err. Be still and tardy in the slow, wise world. Mighty art thou with the dread goddess filled, to whom thou criedst at dawn in the dim woods. Use not thy strength like the wild Titan souls. Touch not the seated lines, the ancient laws. Respect the calm of great established things.